From the Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy, we are here for round 9 of the GT3 League, even on the PlayStation 4, courtesy of Excite Racing League, live exclusively on Twitch.tv for the rest of your viewing pleasure. Good evening to you all. I'm Pete Marcroft, going to be bringing you live solo colour commentary here of this race, which is pretty much the start of the second half of the season for the GT drivers here. Monza is one of the most unusual circuits you'll ever experience as a driver. It has multiple challenges, very long straights with lots of high speed. You've got fast sweepers such as the Parabolica and the Ascari chicanes. You've got the very tricky Lesmo bends, but you've also got a chance to go for that ultra low downforce, kind of reminiscent in many ways of Le Mans and last week's round at the Circuit de Francorchamps in Spa, Belgium. So, Italy, what more needs to be said about Monza, apart from the fact that I still can't get over how they've managed to tarmac the outside of the Parabolica. One of the most legendary and iconic corners in all of motorsport history has now been turned into a bit of a health and safety job. For those of you out there watching live at the moment on Twitch.tv, wherever you are in the world, good evening to you all. We encourage as much interaction as possible here on the streams, so get your chat box in. The chat box is open. Your comments will be read out as best we can through the remainder of the session. Now, for those of you who have been checking out the motorsport, last week was a big block for all of you. You had the stream on the evening today, and then on the Sunday, you had the Chinese F1 Grand Prix, you had the first round of the World Endurance at Silverstone, and also the British Touring Cars at Donington. It was a bit of a fat schedule. This weekend, we've had the Formula E, and a great job by Luca Di Grassi to dominate the Parisian round there in France. Evidently, that team very much on the up and up. So qualifying is just about to get started, so let's get ourselves out there onto the circuit as best as we can. And again, all coverage brought to you tonight courtesy of Excite Racing League, and we'll bring you commentary of this very shortly. Just waiting for the session to get kicked off, and then we'll get ourselves to the external cameras to showcase what is happening. So bear with me, both of you, let's just get on to the track for you now. So all the drivers just going out for the first run here. 15 minutes formats here in the qualifying in the GT3 division. The case of get out there at the front of the order and try and get the best lap that you can. Trying to find who's actually at the front of the snake at the moment. You've got System Flynn, who's showing up in the Ginetta G55. He's behind one of the BMW Z4s. I'm not sure who it is that's piloting that. I think that might be GR4 Demon. So we're right on board with him. No, he's actually not at the front of the chase. In fact, going through Curva Grande there, System Flynn being overtaken by one of the BMW Z4 drivers. Bit of a surprise to see him losing that position there, but then again, it's only qualifying, so it doesn't actually matter for much. I do apologise, but it appears that I hadn't turned on the soundtrack of the engines. I wondered why it was a little bit quiet, and I thought, interesting. So, Football 67611 in the BMW Z4 is at the head of the snake at the moment, just going through the chicanes at the end of Sector 1 there. Very easy to find yourself attacking the inside curbs, hitting the sausages, and finding yourself going totally off the circuit. It's really important that you get the right line whenever you're going through. Into Lesmo 1, these corners are very tricky because it invites you onto those nice little rumble strips in the AstroTurf, and then you're straight into the gravel. Of course, the Parabolica used to have the same kind of profiling, but it was changed back in the 2015 Formula 1 season. Bit nanny state, in my opinion. We saw the likes of Giancarlo Fisichella and Jacques Villeneuve explaining to us many years ago why it's important to have those gravel track runoffs. Very simple. It punishes you for your mistakes. You got any comments on tracks, on the races, or anything like that? Again, the chat box is open here. Those of you watching live on Twitch.tv at the moment. Now, Football 67611 looks like going to be the first driver out there at the head of the snake in the Tag BMW Z4. Driver has had reasonable pace, but not been threatening the front runners, it has to be said. But he'll be trying to get himself noticed here in the second half of the league. One of the things we're actually thinking of doing here for the GT3 division is that we might be having our own version of Le Mans. A week before the 24-hour race happens on the 18th of June, we are going to be live, and there's a chance that that might be extended to a 3 or 4 hour race. More details coming. And of course, those of you who out there enjoy your GT3 racing should definitely check that out. So, Football 67611 coming up to Curva Grande towards the end of Sector 1, having gone through that opening chicane. It's so easy to get on the brakes there, get that completely wrong, and go through the tyres. Damon Hill show showed us that many, many years ago, back in 1996. Almost cost him his World Championship charge. Heading for the second chicane. Not too bad a line there for football. 6-7, 6-1. Went a bit too wide, maybe. Kissed the outside curb, but did not find himself in any real danger. Going through Lesmo 1, looked pretty smooth there into the second. Lesmo gets a little drift on the inside there. That's pushed him a little wide towards the curb, but he's managed to catch that before the gravel trap runoff. So easy to get dragged out there. It's so easy to wreck your car. But so far, decent laps as far as I can tell. Trying to bring up the times for the first couple of sectors. A 42 for the first. But look at that, Flipper Racing, a 37.9. And Kentucky Racing, a 36.6. Bobley Slugger, a 36.2. So evidently, they're not really on the pace at the moment. Football, in fact, I can't even see his lap time on the order. That's a bit of a surprise. So Neil said, I'm not sure what time he's on or whether this is even a lap here. Moving further forward, we've got Killer Ramsey in the RUF. He's going to be one of the guys to watch. And look at this, the wily old fox getting right into the slipstream of one of the BMW Z4s. I think that might be Magavo. Oh, well, Sister Flint in the Ginetta G55 almost got in the way there. It would have been so easy for him to tag that car and go off. Tried to do it the inside, almost like a DRS-assisted pass there from Killer Ramsey. Really hit those apexes beautifully despite the traffic. One of the dangers of GT racing and multi-class racing is getting caught up in these packs, where the slower drivers who are battling for their own championships can kind of get in the way. It's one of the things that makes the likes of the Le Mans 24-hour and the 24-hour 12 hours of Sebring one of those kind of races that's very difficult for a driver because you have to push as much as you can. Headed towards Lesmo 1 and Sister Flint. I think he may have actually backed off here. I think he has. So we're round up with Paulie Dog in the Audi R8 LMS at the moment. Done a 1:53.2 as his first lap time there. It looks like we'd say Killer Ramsey wasn't a quick lap and then backed off for some reason. Heading for a Scarish chicane. And you can see one of the RUF drivers bearing down very, very quickly indeed on the back of Paulie Dog. But Paulie Dog, one of the drivers who wants to make a name for himself now that Welshie, aka Bad Boy, one of the leaders in the Audi R8 LMS, has actually left the division and gone to race in the dirt leagues. So needless to say, big opportunity now for Paulie Dog and his teammate Bobley Swagger to make a move towards the top. Coming out the end of the Parabolica, you can see Paulie Dog pushing to the outside line there, but not taking the switchback that's common to get the quicker line. Has he set a faster time here? Yes, he has. A 1:46.4. That's catapulted him right back up the order. 94001, meanwhile, in the RUF, is a 1:46.0 in the third place. Let's see if he can make any improvements. He comes up to Ascari, a little lock up on the way in there, manages to catch that okay, a little wide at the second part, is going to throw him a little too wide here, uses the extra asphalt runoff beautifully to get that little extra grip. One of the controversies of Monza is all the drivers always going wide there, and the stewards constantly saying that you're going to get punished, but you never see any penalties. Evidently no one's got the guts to follow through on their actions here. But 94001 going through the Parabolica, not troubling the outside there until the second part of the turn. That looked pretty beautiful to me. Really went wide when it mattered. Getting the power down out of the corner, coming over the start finish line. Is it an improvement? No, it's not. No change at the top of the order there. Meanwhile, Bobley Swagger in the Audi R8 LMS just goes over the lines. He's done a 1:45.8, no improvement. And Skarky Puppy a 1:44.5, out in the lead by a second at the moment here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza. Now, of course, anything can happen yet. This is only qualifying. You don't get any points for what happens on Saturday. It's all what happens on the race. And that's what the drivers will be bearing in mind. Evidently, because remember, Skarky Puppy got collected quite badly at the Spa race last weekend out in Belgium. So it's very easy to find your race compromised. And with that fast start straight down to that chicane, so easy to get caught up in an action. So easy to get yourself taken out. Going on the blasted peace path of least resistance at the end of the Parabolica. 1:44.5 previously, no improvement by Skarky Puppy. So he's yet to get through, but Ace Killer has come out of nowhere. A 1:45.7 in the McLaren MP4-12C. Really good performance from him. We have Bobley Swagger demoted down to third place in the Audi R8 LMS. Can he respond as he heads into Ascari? He gets a little drift on the outside there. Really struggled to hold it together, but he's managed to get the second bit of grip using the outside runoff as we head down towards the Parabolica and the start of Sector 3. One of those areas where it's one corner, one shot to get it right. Bobbly Swagger in the RDR8 LMS gets on the brakes around 100 metres. That's pretty brave to me. Goes a little wide on the outside, but then switches back, trying to get the straightened out line in the Audi, pushing and using as much of the track as he can, rising over the curve. Car on two wheels, that's not going to speed him up, really. Is this going to be any kind of improvement from Bobbly Swagger? Yes, it is, but it's only on to second place on a 45.5. Only 2 tenths between him and Ace Killer. Meanwhile, Killer Ramsey off the circuit. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was on the BMW Z4s behind. Killer Ramsey's got it all to do. He's on a 45.9. 4 tenths between second, third, and fourth at the moment. But Killer Ramsey in the RUF. Here we're looking to get himself back towards the top of the podium and trying to get this as much as a sweep as possible as we head here through round 9 of this league. GT3, brought to you exclusively live on Twitch.tv. Courtesy of XRL Racing League. Going for a Ascari, and you can see that Killer Ramsey is so smooth through there, so controlled, so able to keep that power down in the RUF, really getting the grip through that fast sweeping chicane, down towards the end of Sector 2, starting into Parabolica. He'll be trying to pay attention to that car ahead to get a little bit of a toe down towards the start-finish line. This is all about pace, all about power here for Killer Ramsey. A 145.9 was his best. I think that might be 94001 who's ahead of him, not going to get in his way. Killer Ramsey looking pretty solid so far. Is he going to be an improvement from him to get towards the stop on the podium? A 145.1 knocking on the door, but Skunky Puppy is still out in front by 6 tenths of a second. Meanwhile, in third place, Paulie Dog has gone back to the pits, having dragged himself into third. Good performance so far for him. Bobbly Swagger, meanwhile, coming up to the Parabolica now, will ride on board. It's a chance for him to set a quick lap here, going on the inside, taking a much tighter line this time out. Is he going to avoid the curb this time? Keep the car on the ground. He might gain an extra tenth or two, but with the tightness at the top of the order, this could be all he needs to get catapulted towards the top of the podium. Is it going to be an improvement? No, it's not. No improvement for Bobbly Swagger. Ace Killer, meanwhile, in a McLaren MP4-12C, running in 6th place at the moment, only 2 tenths of drift. So it shows just how close these guys are. If the race is this tight in terms of lap times, it could be an absolute lottery as to who's going to be going over the start-finish line at the end of the race to take victory here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza. Heading into Parabolica, gets a little wide entry there, Ace Killer, and that's pushing him right to the outside, really on the rugged edge there. He's trying to get a switchback line, almost like a karting line, heading towards the start-finish line so far, looking pretty decent. Power down for the McLaren MP4-12C. No improvement, not found any extra pace. And meanwhile, 94001, only on a 146.0 in 7th place. So we're talking there between 2nd and 7th, a gap of only 9 tenths of a second. Between 1st and 7th, it's only 1.5. That's one of the tightest fields we've seen for quite some time here between the top drivers in this division. GT3 on the PlayStation 4. Evidently, these guys are all leaving it on the rugged edge here. 94001 kicks the car onto 2 legs there, kicking over the curb at the end of the Parabolica towards the start-finish line. No improvement from 94001, and unbelievably, Kentucky Racer is only 3/100ths of a second behind him in 8th on a 146.06. So Kentucky Racer only needs to find what's literally a piece of cigarette paper in terms of distance on the track, and he'll be overhauling 94001. This is unbelievably close here between these guys in qualifying, heading through Parabolica, going to the outside corner. Kentucky Racer shaking a bit left and right there as he tries to squirrel the maximum power from the BMW V8 heading towards the start-finish line. Is this an improvement? No, it's not. He's not gained any distance. And a 146.3 from Gurford Demon keeps him in 9th place. And a 146.8 from Football 67611 keeps him in 10th. So we're still a very tight field here. Ace Killer, sorry, 15 meanwhile, is just going down towards Ascari. And he's weaving the tyres left and right. So this is obviously a warm-up. That Bobbly Swagger, meanwhile, going through Curva Grande towards the end of Sector 1. If you are watching out there on Twitch.tv, live and exclusive, you can use the chat box to get your comments in, assuming you can find time to tighten with all the action that's going on. Even for a qualifying race, these guys are really attacking it so far. Into Lesmo 1, going onto the marbles there. Bobbly Swagger encouraging his car, pushing it to the absolute limit. Goes to the outside, uses the extra runoff into Lesmo 2, gets a little bit of a kick on the divot there, nearly throws him wide, runs over the curb with a little bit of dust there. I don't think this is going to be that impressive for Bobby Swagger. A 36.0 was his sector 1, so we'll stay on more for now, but I'm not sure if this is going to actually be an improvement. It's all down to how the driver can perform on the circuit into Ascari. Gets a decent run on the start line, getting wider at the second turn. Third car is straight lined it as much as he dares, goes over the outside, uses the extra runoff to go down towards the Parabolica at the start of sector 3. Bob Lee Swagger in 5th place on a 1:45.57. Really needs to find a few more tenths if he wants to get right in the thick of this podium position battle, but with the closest of the field so far, he might not even need to do it. Going through Parabolica to the outside, kisses the curb again, kicks the car into 2 wheels. Not sure that's going to gain him any pace here. Let's see what his time is as he crosses the start-finish line. At 1:45.3, puts him up to P3 by only 10 seconds. But Paulie Doug is right behind him in the sister Audi. Can he improve? No, he can't. So Bobby Swagger stays ahead. Bergamo, meanwhile, now the BMW Z4 has gone to 1:45.4. He's stuck into 5th place all of a sudden. And this is a really good charge here from Bergamo. He's got guys knocking on the door of the podium. Quite a few races, such as Catalunya, where he's just not quite been able to convert thus far. Heading into the Parabolica, he gets a little diving, bombing entry there. Takes a narrow line. Look how tight to the inside curb he kept it there. Almost cutting the grass at the Parabolica. One of the tightest lines I've seen thus far. Goes over towards the start-finish line. Can he find any extra time? Not on this lap. A 1:45.4 is all he wrote. We want Ace Killer 15, the McLaren MP4-12C. Let's see if he can make any improvement on a 1:45.7. That's between 3rd place and 7th, just 0.4 of a second. Almost nothing between them. Goes a path of least resistance down towards the start-finish line. Is this an improvement from Ace Killer? Yes, it is a 1:46.4, but it only puts him to 7th place. Look at how tight that is. Skunky Puppy on a 1:45.207. Killer Ramsey at 1:45.213. 6/1000ths of a second between them two at the top of the order. Bobby Swagger, meanwhile, on a 1:45.3 is in 3rd place. Then you've got Paulie Dog at 1:45.4. 1:45.4 from Bergamo. Another 1:45.4 from Ace Killer. 3 drivers all within a tenth of each other, down to 6th place. 7, you got Kentucky Racer on a 1:45.6. You got Knight on a 1:46.0. You got Great Demon on a 1:46.3. Maldovic rally off the top 10 on a 1:46.5. But even outside the top 10, Football 676 number 1:46.8. A 47.2 for Sister Flint. A 47.8 from Bacon Bonds. So we've got a brief interlude now. 5 minutes for these drivers to get one last hurrah as they get themselves ready. If you are watching on the chat box, have you got any predictions at all here? Because from what I can see, this race could be anybody's to win. So all these drivers pretty much on a warm-up lap here. They're probably going to get time for 1 lap, possibly a second one. Well, Vickers, what if he goes that wide? What the hell was that? I've never seen anyone go off at Curva Grande before, but he's managed to do it. Not the start he needed. Well, I've got Ace Killer just going through the start-finish line chicane there. So who's out in front? There was one of the RUF drivers was out at the front of the order. That's Skanky Puppy. Let's ride aboard with Skanky because he'll be the driver who will be one of the ones to watch here to try and get himself towards the top step of the podium and get himself that victory here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy. And Skanky Puppy really been setting the field alight with this RUF. He's really enjoyed the styling of this car. He's really enjoyed the control that it gives him and the power and the poise as he goes into the curves. You saw how well he was able to attack Ascari then. For a look at the second one, he almost cut the entire corner. He's got so much confidence to chuck the car in, almost like watching a professional go-karter attacking and ragging the machine as best as he can to get performance from it. Live here, exclusive on Twitch.tv, brought to you by Excite Racing League. I am Pete Markov, bringing you live coverage of this GT3 division race on the PlayStation 4. Inaugural season for those of us here on the PlayStation side. Normally Normally, XRL's been associated with the Xbox One. I understand that there's a couple of divisions still ongoing there on Project Cars. You've got the multi-class, and you've also got the Renault Clio Cups. Keep an eye out on the streams for them, and also on the YouTube channel, as some streams are done directly to YouTube. More information available on www.exciteracingleague.com. So let's look at Skanky Puppy going through the first chicane, heading down towards Curva Grande, really getting the power down in the RUF. Wants to get a sight alert, wants to really see if the conditions of the circuit have changed much here, or if it's going to be more of the same that he saw in qualifying. Gets a decent line, doesn't use all the circuit, but that's a good advantage in many ways, because of the way the chicane falls straight up. And look how he's attacking those curves. Went over the sausage curb, car almost flipped over. He got that much power and poise. Really quick, but at the same time, really quite dangerous. Heading into Lesmo 1, pushing as wide as he dares there. Kisses the outside curb beautifully. Heading into second Lesmo, much more progressive, clean line. Look how wide he's gone. He's actually shaved the grass there. Now, that could be a danger in the race in many ways. On the stream, well, XRL Button has joined in, saying Skanky Puppy to win. Well, Skanky Puppy's definitely shown the pace for start this season here on the PlayStation 4 division, so he's definitely one of the drivers to watch. But Killer Ramsey, his teammate in the RUF, has been absolutely sensational as well. And you can't count out the likes of Bobley Swagger, who won at Bathurst for Panorama, and you've also got the guys like Night4001 and Polydog, who's shown great power and performance to get near the podiums. Heading into the Parabolica, taking a wider line on entry there, Skanky Puppy, trying to straighten the car up halfway through the bend, and goes to the wider outside line, going towards the curb. He's not going to make the same mistake as Bobley Swagger. He's not going to kiss that and get the car up. Question is, what kind of time is he going to set here? A 1:46.8, not as fast as he went in qualifying, but then again, on all the tyres, where he's not been able to get them warmed up, that looks pretty strong to me. Meanwhile, Bacon Boss 72 in the McLaren MP4-12C, is he going to be able to respond to that lap time? Because he didn't do much in qualifying. A 1:50.7, not spectacular, but it's certainly not out of the question. Meanwhile, Ace Killer 15, what's his final warm-up time going to go? A 1:47.2, so there's been a bit of a loss of performance. Drivers have maybe got a second difference between their qualifying lap times here. Meanwhile, Sandster BFC has just mentioned on the stream there's actually a GT3 Season 4 pre-season, which is live on YouTube at 7:20 tomorrow evening. So if you go to youtube.com/ExciteRacingLeague, it might have a user in there somewhere, you'll be able to find not only that live race, but many archive races from both the F1 races and also the Project Cars leagues. So do check them out. There's plenty of action and plenty of wheel-to-wheel racing. I don't think Football 676 is going to finish this lap here. Indeed, he's been timed up by about 3 seconds, so didn't really tell us much in terms of pace there, apart from that the drivers seem to have about a second loss per lap in terms of race pace. Accounting for fuel, accounting for tyres that haven't quite warmed up, this could be quite a dicey race indeed here, viewers. And for those of you watching out there live on twitch.tv, the chat box is open. Please follow the examples of XRL Button and also from Samster BRC. I'll get your comments out there. Now, we're going to be going for the rolling start here, and after that, it's going to be a long race here at Monza Autodromo Nazionale. So let's get out to the pit box and get ourselves watching the circuit as best as we can. Moving further forward, you can see the drivers all getting ready into the warm-up position for this quick, rather short lap in many ways. It's a long distance, but high speed. One of the positions where we've got one of the cars off the circuit now. I think that might be Night4001. Indeed, he's well out of position. He wanted to not qualify second place, and yet he's all the way up to second already. He's trying to get out of the way as the drivers are trying to simon past him. Bobley Swagger and Polydog going through there. You've also got Pagano going through, and I think he might be filtering in behind the McLaren, and he goes into 7th place. He's got to get himself back in position, otherwise he's going to get himself into real trouble. He can't keep slowing down on the racing line like that, or he might get himself rear-ended by somebody. He definitely got himself completely wrong there. Now he's filtering back into his position. Now Night4001 trying not to cause any incidents here. Meanwhile, XRL Button says he hopes XRL will return to racing on F1 2016. Not really having any more details about that game yet emerge. Last I heard, there was going to be an interview with our very own XRL LGS talking with one of the actual producers of that game, been, but so far, this is all going to be quiet on the Western Front. The Co-Masters have really got to pull the finger out in many ways, because the last few F1 games have been a little bit disappointing, it has to be said. The lobbies haven't been very easy to connect to, the balance of the car performances online has not been strong, so it's all about win or bust for Co-Masters and the Formula 1 leagues. And again, if you've got any questions about motorsport in general, get them out here. We'll read your comments as best we can. Last weekend, Porsche found themselves winning at the opening round of the World Endurance Championship in surprising fashion because Audi were disqualified. All because the floor wound down a bit too much. But enough about that. Let's go to the actual on-track action here as the drivers start to back up. Is Skanky Bobby back in the field up before the Parabolica? Oh, mistake there. I don't know who that was. Was that Bobby Swagger? Who all went into the wall, warming his tyres up there. A huge mistake. He's lost position up both Skanky Bobby and Keller Ramsey. And Skanky Bobby has gone for it once they're over the line. And with lights out, and away we go. Heading up for 24 laps here at the Autodrome Nacional. But already Keller Ramsey into the slipstream of Skunky Puppy down towards turn 1. Really getting on the pace there. The brake lights already for Skunky Puppy there. Bit of mind games maybe. Keller Ramsey's not intimidated. Get on the brakes. He's pulling up to the inside. Is he going to look for a late 9-mile move? No, he's just not far enough. Meanwhile, behind the Bubbly Swagger, taking it inside lines. Paulie Dog goes very, very wide indeed. Really makes a mistake there. Pagavo side by side. At turn 2, Pagavo might have a better line through Curva Grande here. Heading further on, a bit of action further back. As you can see that one of the BMWs, I think that's Gerford Demon, has gone through to 5th place, but Bugavo looking to follow through. Oh, a side on action from Curva Grande. Well, great battling from these two drivers heading out towards the second chicane. Meanwhile, moving further back, Kentucky Racer under real pressure here. In 6th place in the collision between one of the McLarens there. I think that might be Vickers and Maldovic. Indeed, you've got Maldovic going through to 8th place. Moving further forward, Ace Killer down in 8th now. Look at this, 4 cars of breath to Lesmo 1. This is suicidal driving, but great opportunity. Ace Killer trying to dive on the inside of Lesmo 2 here. Trying to take a sneaky move there with sideways action collision. Both cars go off the circuit, brings it back on. This is impossible to keep up with here. Careful Demon, really under pressure, trying to get a hang on that BMW Z4. As well, Maldovic follows through in the McLaren 5 abreast down to Ascari. This is unbelievably close here. As all the drivers are getting a bit too interaction. Night 4001 in the middle, trying to get a sly move there. Just about hangs on Gerford Demon in 9th place. Has got Night 4001 behind him, and behind him, you got Football 676 number 1 in the BMW Z4. But he's under real pressure now as Vickers F1 in a McLaren MP4-12C. So I have to dive on the outside towards Parabolica. This is going to be the filtering line around the outside, almost NASCAR style wall of death here. Maldovic, Vickers F1 goes through. Mike 400 in 10th place, looking at the back of Gerford Demon, who's trying to get a slipstream on the back of Maldovic VF1 in the McLaren MP4-12C. Gets into the slipstream of Gerford Demon as Maldovic's gone very, very defensive indeed. But he's not going to make that McLaren wide enough. Gerford Demon attacking down towards turn 1. Has got past. Can he get the car stopped in time? Meanwhile, look at this. Maldovic's not giving up. He's going to try a suicide lunge on the inside contact. Maldovic's around, can collect him on 94001. And you had to say that that's going to be the fault of Maldovic. He sort of backed out of that move there. And that could have been a catastrophic collision. Vickers almost caught up in that as well, along with Football 676 number 1 and Flipper Racing. Absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Football 6-7 trying to catch up to the back of Vickers VF1 as Night 4001 dives on the inside before that second chicane. Vickers hits the sausage curb, goes 2 wheels in the air, but somehow just about hangs on. Meanwhile, what's going on the front? Who knows? Because these guys are all far too close together. Football 676 number 1 trying to go on the inside of Lesmo 1 on the inside of Vickers, but he's just not quick enough. Trying to get to the back of the McLaren MP4-12C. Meanwhile, behind him, Flipper Racing with a front end that looks like he's trying to eat the back of another car. It's creased to high heaven, but he's still driving, hanging on as much as he dares. Vickers VF1 in the slipstream of Maldovic. 2 McLaren MP4-12Cs going to war here down towards Ascari. But I think Vickers is just going to have to let that one go for now. Let's move further far on the field. You've got Gerford Demon looking at the back of Ace Killer 15. Kentucky Racer out on his 6th place. But then looking at this, Pagavo has got right in behind Paulie Dog. The BMW Z4 driver trying the wide line there, trying to get as as much power as possible down towards turn 1. We did say in the qualifying that these drivers are all close on pace, and evidently these guys are going to leave it all on the track today. Bergamo in the slipstream, trying to get as close as he can, but Audi R8 LMS is very, very slippery in a straight line here at Monza, and Paulie Dog hangs on for now. Meanwhile, I think there's a battle of the leaders as Killer Ramsey off camera has actually got into first place, but Skanky Puppy is right up his chuff going through Curva Grande. These guys are very, very close indeed. Battles throughout the field all over. Skanky Puppy getting into the slipstream, trying to get as close as he can through the second chicane. Look at Killer Ramsey and Skanky Puppy. This is like watching two drivers in the Indy 500. They're so close together at the moment, almost sewn together between the tailpipes. Going into last well 1, the better line for Skanky Puppy there. Took a tighter line on the entrance. That's going to let him go wider. Use the extra runoff into Lesmo 2. And that might give him an option on the slipstream down towards Ascari. Going on the inside, kicks the curb beautifully there. And Killer Ramsey is under real pressure here now because Skanky Puppy is right in the slipstream. He's got the power of the RUF, really getting close. One driver's giving a little kick in the brakes as they go under the banking of the old Monza circuit into Ascari. Skanky will be really getting on the inside, doing a great job, really keeping the pressure on the back of Killer Ramsey, who is so far being the immovable object versus Skanky Puppy's unstoppable force. But Skanky Puppy is not going to give up as we head towards Parabolica. Gets into the slipstream. Does he fancy a late move here on the inside and try and become the hunted down towards the home straight here? Both drivers taking opposite lines, heading in through the second part of Parabolica. Killer Ramsey getting a slightly cleaner exit there, heading towards the curb. Kicks the car up in the air though. That might slow him down. The Skanky Puppy now has a great opportunity to slingshot out of the final turn down the straight into turn 1 chicane. Gets on the brakes. Both drivers really pushing each other here. This is unbelievably close. The NASCAR style driving between these two. When Skanky Puppy tries to go around the outside for the switchback line, getting the tighter line for turn 2. But Killer Ramsey just about hangs on. These guys are so close on pace. It's absolutely incredible. They're 1/100th apart in terms of fastest laps. Going through Curva Grande, Skanky Puppy getting right into the inside, getting tighter line there, getting onto the slipstream, really putting the power down, but Killer Ramsey is resisting hard. Oh, big mistake there for Skanky Puppy. He almost flipped the car over, hit the inside sausage curve and went nose first into the tarmac, but somehow managed to avoid wrecking. He'll have had a few brown stains on the back of his racing trousers for that one, I can assure you. Heading through Lesmo 1 into Lesmo 2. Skanky Puppy really kicking the inside curb there, going wide. Ooh, just about avoid the gravel, desperately trying to get as much power as he can, but Killer Ramsey really showing dogged resistance. It's like watching Mike Atherton at the crease in the way he's been defensive so far. Going down towards the second part of Ascari, really kicking up the inside power there, really good curve there. If you're all watching out there, I'm sorry for your good comments on there. I've not got time to get through them at the moment, but I'll do what I can to reach them as the action starts to slow down potentially. 20 laps left here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy. Skanky Puppy really getting on the inside, getting deep into the slipstream, heading down towards Parabolica. Skanky Puppy trying to go on the wider line to get more power out of the corner. Meanwhile, Killer Ramsey favouring a more traditional Formula 1 line, keeping the power down neutrally throughout the turn. Skanky Puppy, maybe he's lacking, maybe he's got a bit more downforce on the car, maybe he's just lacking that top end power, because Killer Ramsey has started to potentially pull ahead. Not by much, but it's enough to be able to distill and neutralise that slipstream advantage. We're heading into turn 1. Bit of a tighter line for Skanky Puppy. He's attacking the curbs, and I think that's what's slowing him down. But meanwhile, big mistake. Killer Ramsey's made a mistake in the second part of that chicane there, and Skanky Puppy is now right so close to him. I think the McPherson goes side by side through Curva Grande with Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel. Tried this a few years ago, and it ended in absolute disaster. Skanky Puppy is weaving left and right. He fancies the late lunge move, Daniel Ricciardo-esque, down into the second chicane. Oh, contact! Both drivers pushing each other through like a BTC touring car race, and Skanky Puppy holds off, decides not to take the advantage, heading into Lesmo 1, and that's going to allow Bobby Swagger and the Audi R8 LMS to start closing these guys down. Going through Lesmo 1 into Lesmo 2, the leaders really putting on a clinic here. They're leaving it all on the track. Oil, grease, blood, sweat, tears, you name it. It's all getting left on the asphalt. Heading out towards Ascari and Skanky Puppy. It's really keeping Killer Ramsey honest here. These guys are so close. Killer Ramsey's got a faster lap time by 0.4 of a second, but that's not enough to break away from Skanky Puppy, who's absolutely relentless, Terminator-esque in his drive to just keep relentlessly chasing him down. I'd love to give you some more more action throughout the field, but these two guys are putting on an absolute clinic here. A Skunky Puppy gets it on the slipstream, heading into the inside line, and Parabolic here is going to have a late lunge here. He might fancy trying to psych out Killer Ramsey, make him think he's going to make a move and make him make a mistake, but Killer Ramsey is too much of a wily old fox to fall for that one, and both drivers really close now to go over the start-finish lap again. There's still 19 laps left, viewers. It's breathless stuff. Can you all keep up? Probably not, but we'll certainly try. A Skunky Puppy gets most of the mistake. Killer Ramsey goes defensive to the inside. Skunky Puppy's going to have to try and go on the outside line at turn 1 and get the better line into 2 here, but Killer Ramsey gets the filtering line. Is he going to make the same mistake he did on the previous lap? No, he's not, but the same way. Skunky Puppy seems so much more confident getting out of that turn. He gets the power down that little fraction of a second quicker, and that's making all the difference as we're going into Curva Grande. Skunky Puppy now fancies yet another move. Both drivers really keeping close as Killer Ramsey takes the natural line. Skunky Puppy fancies another attempt at the inside chicane despite the contact on the previous lap, but he's not giving up. Both drivers getting through there, just about hanging on here. Both drivers really putting on an absolute masterclass in league racing. If you want to see the best in online, you can't find much better than this. As we go through Lesmo 1 into Lesmo 2, Skunky Puppy really attacking the back of Killer Ramsey in those RUS, doing a battle of the machines. His teammates out on the track, Hammer and Tom, Senna and Prost, Hamilton and Rosberg, whichever name you want to use. These guys are absolutely killing it at the moment. Down towards Ascari, Skunky Puppy getting in the slipstream, getting the power down. Can he get a better line through here? We've seen very few overtakes for Ascari, but the way Skunky Puppy's driving at the moment, I don't think that's going to let him intimidate anything. Get a slightly better line off the outside of Ascari there. The Killer Ramsey slowly eking sleetily out ahead, heading in towards Parabolica, but Skunky Puppy with the effect almost DRS-esque from the slipstream, getting him closer to the back as they go into Parabolica. How Killer Ramsey is managing to resist this at the moment, I do not know. These guys are absolutely, in the meantime, message from one of the drivers says apparently one of them stuck in the pits. Screen's stuck in the pits, some kind of glitch. That's not what we need. And moving on to Skunky Puppy really getting close to the back of Killer Ramsey, but Killer Ramsey got a better exit from Parabolica there, and as a result, it's now started to possibly stamp his authority on here. Don't forget, these viewers, they've all got to pit at some point. Who's going to blink first? Who's going to try and get the fresher rubber on earlier? That's going to be the key question. There's a mistake from Killer Ramsey. Gets a slower exit out of turn 2 there. Skunky Puppy fancies driving around the outside of Curva Grande. This would be incredibly brave if you can make this stick. Really get slumped to side by side down towards the chicane. Skunky Puppy's been threatening this for quite some time here. He's got a much better line. Can he stop in time? Can he get in the inside? Killer Ramsey somehow hangs on. What brilliant driving to hold first place. Quite a few on the stream are making a quick comment about the fact that third place is quietly gaining here. Indeed, Bobley Swagger, I believe, is slowly watching this like an assassin waiting in the wings. He wants these two drivers to come together and take that first position. We saw that happen in 2008 at the Canadian Grand Prix when Robert Kubica got the first win for BMW. Exactly the same circumstances happened, and I get the feeling Bobley Swagger's trying to do the same kind of move here. As Skunky Puppy still keeps on the back of Killer Ramsey. These two are looking to leave it all on the track and more. As Killer Ramsey watches a slightly better line at the end of the Ascari there, Skunky Puppy makes a mistake and that drops him slightly off the pace. But would you count him out? Right now I wouldn't. As we go through Parabolica, you can see Skunky Puppy taking the wider line on the outside there. Killer Ramsey filtering in slightly closer to the edge, trying to avoid kicking the car into the air. And Skunky Puppy looking at the back of Killer Ramsey. He'll be getting so annoyed looking at the same wing all the way through. You saw Fernando Alonso famously have that problem with Vitaly Petrov in 2010 at Abu Dhabi's Yas Marina. When you get stuck behind the same car for a long time, there's nothing more frustrating. And that's what Bobley Swagger is waiting for. He's slowly rubbing his hands going, come on boys, have that crash, let me through. That's exactly why he's slowly keeping his pace, minding his own business in third. But in the meantime, Skunky Puppy is not intimidated, he doesn't even care. All he wants to do is get past Killer Ramsey, as these two drivers are separated by maybe 0.2 of a second through that second chicane, heading down towards Lesmo 1 and 2. And you can see the Skunky Puppy had a slightly better exit there, gets into the slipstream beautifully, but it's very hard to pass through Lesmo 1, and even harder through Lesmo 2, as he goes a bit wide there, almost off the circuit, pushing so hard, trying to make his way through. Meanwhile, Audible Arcade text asking, do they have to pit before the finish? Yes, they do. Every driver has to make at least one stop into the pits as part of the regulations. But also, with the way these guys are driving, with the pace that they're going at, would you want to stay on the same boots to the end of the race? They'll be bored by the end of lap 10 of the way these guys are going at the moment for Ascari. As Skanky Puppy tries to get close to the back of Killer Ramsey, who seems to have a slightly better approach there. Maybe the tyres have started to go off. He's pushed so hard, he's got so tight in the slipstream that the dirty air will have been chewing the outside carcass of that rubber to pieces. And that's really making life difficult as you go through Parabolica. But you can see a bit of a mistake there for Skanky Puppy. Went a bit too wide, but then Killer Ramsey filtered to the same line later on in the corner, negating the advantage as Bobley Swagger, meanwhile, quietly looks on from behind, saying, I'm not going anywhere, boys. Carry on fighting it out. You can see there's not much of a distance between those two cars. It's only going to take a genius pit stop from Bobley Swagger, and all of a sudden, this all changes. Going through turns 1 and 2, and you can see that inside curve, hitting the inside there, Skanky Puppy getting slightly better drive. Going back of Killer Ramsey, heading towards Curva Grande, and Skanky Puppy really on the attack here, but Killer Ramsey slowly eats a slightly bigger lead out. It's not that much, but it's enough to slightly negate the advantage of the slipstream. Heading into the second chicane, you can see it's just fighting for grip, fighting for pace. It's just not quite there. Skanky Puppy trying so hard. Meanwhile, I think behind them, Paulie Dog has caught up to his teammates. So you've got the RUS battling it out, and now you've got the LDR8 LMSs battling it out as well. Guys, give me a break. I'm only one person. Going through Lesmo 2, you can see Skanky Puppy has slowly started to fade off here. But behind them, look at Bobley Swagger and Paulie Dog, and they're up quite close too. So all these drivers, not that far apart. Really good, impressive stuff so far from these guys. On the stream, XRL Button saying that this is like Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg at Bahrain 2014. Quite a good comparison, as we have had quite a few elbows out of the cockpit moves from these guys as well. But Skanky Puppy may have slowly started to reach the cut from his grip here because he's fallen behind by a few car lengths. Skanky Puppy may possibly have pushed so hard that he's reached the rims. On the stream, Troll Vision saying they'll be on the rims at this rate. Incredible, dare I say, even better commentary. Go on. Oh, please, keep stroking my ego. I love that. Meanwhile, Costa Rica guy says, seriously, the race has been absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm glad that you guys are all out there and enjoying it live here exclusive on Twitch.tv, Excite Racing League. Tomorrow night, don't forget, there is the pre-season for the GP3 division. That's on the YouTube channel, so check out Excite Racing League. You can find the channel there, as well as all previous races, including the previous 8 of this season. There's plenty out there going on. Heading through Curva Grande, Skanky Puppy has slowly started to fade away. I'm going to take a brief break because I want to see what's going on. You've got Paulie Dog trying to get close to the back of his teammate Bobley Swagger, but I don't think he's just quite got the pace with him. And Bagavo silently hanging on there in 5th place, living up to his pace of that kind of everyman who's not too far off. Give you a quick rundown for the fastest laps while I can. We've got a 1:34.45.7 from Killer Ramsey, a 1:45.8 for Skanky Puppy. That's how close they are. Then you've got Bobley Swagger, a 46.3, a 45.8 meanwhile from Paulie Dog. He's actually faster than the second place man Skanky Puppy. Meanwhile, 45.6 from Bagavo is the fastest lap of the race. It just goes to show that pace can come anywhere when you get involved in a duel. These guys are all really going for it. Running back to the leaders, the Skanky Puppy has fallen slightly further back from the back of his teammate Killer Ramsey. I get the feeling Skanky Puppy is going to be one who breaks for the pits first here because these guys now have slowly started to settle down. They've had the first 30% of the race or so gone. 14 laps remain. These drivers know it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's very easy to burn your tyres out and get yourself on the rims. Look at Kimi Räikkönen when he was driving for Lotus back in China in 2012. Went from 2nd to 12th purely because he hung on too long. So Skanky Puppy getting into the slipstream at the back of Killer Ramsey, trying to push the RUF on. But you can see that Killer Ramsey's now got that extra car length cushion. It's giving him the confidence to be able to attack the curves. It's giving him the confidence to hang in there. It's resistant, it's brutal, it's aggressive, it's defensive. but it works. Killer Ramsey hanging on at the top of the order thus far. Meanwhile, behind them, let's get back to this teammates battle, because Bobbly Swagger has actually broken away from Paulie Dog, and I think that's because Paulie Dog may possibly have a very fast BMW close to his chuff. Indeed, Bagavo has started to close that gap up here, so all of a sudden Paulie Dog's under a little bit of pressure, and that's allowed Paulie Dog to slightly stretch his legs behind Bobbly Swagger. Bobbly Swagger in podium position at the moment, of course, previous winner at the Bathurst Mount Panorama round. Oh, big mistake from Bagavo! Clip the inside sausage curve at the second curve, and that's forced him right off the circuit. Get out of jail free card now for Paulie Dog. Gaze Killer in 15 in 6th place, and you got Gurthor Demon in 7th. You got Football 6761 in 8th, Vickers F1 in 9th, and then Flipper Racing down in 10th. So it looks like, of course, this battle on circuit is going to be the two leaders. Well, needless to say, that's the way it goes. Going into Ascari, Skunky Puppy attacking as much as he dares now. Those tyres will be screaming in absolute abject agony at the amount of work they've had to do here around the Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy. But Skunky Puppy really attacking, really doing everything he can to rag that car and get that position back and take victory here. As we head into the Parabolica at lap 13, so 12 laps to go after the completion of this one. Is one of these drivers going to dive for the pits here? Are we going to see a change? I think we have. Killer Ramsey may have just dived into the box. Indeed he has. Killer Ramsey has blinked first, using the outside edge, the first position advantage. So Skunky Puppy, he'll be having to do all he can to be able to gain the pace on his teammate here. He needs to do a Schumacher-esque in-lap in order to be able to avoid getting overhauled, as Bobbly Swagger is being attacked by his teammate Paulie Dog. Paulie Dog, the Audi R8 LMS driver, looking at the back of his teammates into turn 1 here. These two drivers closest on circuit at the moment, but we will get back on board with the leader, Skunky Puppy, to see if he decides to go into the box, and if we're going to see a collision between him and his teammate as the tyres get put back on and get themselves back on, going through Curva Grande. Paulie Dog in 3rd place now, not really in position though, due to the fact that Killer Ramsey pitching from the lead. Heading in towards the second chicane, Paulie Dog gaining on his teammate Bobbly Swagger now, putting his teammate under pressure. It's been a battle of attrition here. These drivers really attacking the circuit, really using the fast-flowing nature to push themselves on. Heading into Lesmo 1, really aggressive driving from Paulie Dog, pushing as wide as he dares, almost into the gravel there. As we enter Lesmo 2, gets a bit of a slide on the inside, before into the outside curve though. That might compromise him because he's possibly lost a little bit of pace on his teammate. Going down towards Ascari, down the long straight, DRS straight in Formula 1, under the banking at the end of the old circuit into Ascari, and you can see that Bobbly Swagger took the wider line there, the much more GT-esque line, whereas Paulie Dog is attacking as much as he dares, Formula 1-esque, but I get the feeling that Bobbly Swagger might be looking to go ahead. Meanwhile, moving further up the field, Skunky Puppy's just going through Parabolica. Are we going to see him dive for the box, because he'll want to make sure that he covers off his teammate here? It looks like he's got a bit tighter line. Has he gone into the box? Yes, he has. So, let's go to a battle of the pits here. So, Bobbly Swagger goes through to second with his teammate Paulie Dog in 3rd place. Moving further back through the field, you've got Bergamo in 4th, Ace Killer in 5th. Killer Ramsey is all the way at Ascari. He's a long way back here as Skunky Puppy is still held in the box. Skunky Puppy gets released. Now, the key question is, coming up to Parabolica, Killer Ramsey seems to be way behind here. I think Skunky Puppy may have pulled an absolute blinder. I don't know if there's been some kind of collision, but Killer Ramsey is absolutely nowhere. He's a good 7 or 8 seconds back. Whatever Skunky Puppy had in the tank, he's more than pulled it out here. Meanwhile, Bagamo looking to get on the inside of the back of the Paulie Dog, who's attacking Bobbly Swagger. The Audi R8 LMS now leading the field as we've got Bagamo hanging on behind him. His headlights are full of beam despite the bright sunshine. He wants to try and intimidate these drivers off the circuit. But Neil's heading into Lesmo 1, into Lesmo 2. And you can see that Paulie Dog is really attacking here. Going onto the outside, rushing as much as he can on the outside curb runoff. Behind them quietly, Bagamo is going to be keeping watch on this because he's seen already the issues that have happened. Now the key question, are Bobbly Swagger and Paulie Dog going to come out ahead of Killer Ramsey? Because he seems to have an awful pit stop compared to his teammate Skunky Puppy, who's pretty much inherited the lead, because even though at the moment Bobbly Swagger is 1st place, these guys are yet to stop. He has. Heading into the Parabolica, look at Bobbly Swagger struggling a bit on the outside there as Polly Dog tries to attack as much as he does. Bobbly Swagger might be going for the box here. No, he's going to carry on through by the looks of things. So these drivers are game on, down towards turn one. Polly Dog attacking the back of his teammate. It's pretty much the battle of the cars at the front of the field. Both teams, RUF and Audi, have really been attacking each other here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy. Into turn one, you can see Polly Dog really getting on the inside there. Bobbly Swagger goes wide, makes a mistake. And that's going to open the door for Polly Dog. We've got the power down a little bit earlier. Out of Curva Grande. He might fancy a Daniel Ricciardo-esque move here down towards the end of Sector 1 and into Sector 2. But it requires the perfect clean exit from Curva Grande. You can see how much tighter Polly Dog is able to push that car to the apexes. He's really able to get on it, but Bobbly Swagger has just got enough pace to hold him off for now. Polly Dog will be slamming the steering wheel in frustration, asking his teammate to get out of his way. And Bobbly Swagger will simply be shaking his head going, if you want to get by, you'll have to pass me. And this is where we want it. Going through the last mode 2, you can see Bobbly Swagger took a tighter line there from Polly Dog, but Polly Dog scrubbed a bit more speed off using the outside curb and the AstroTurf. That gives him a chance to get to the slipstream down towards Ascari, and what a great opportunity this is for Polly Dog. Even if his teammate goes into the pits, if he gets really, really close, he might be able to pull off the most blinding in-lap and overhaul in the old-fashioned way. This is like watching an old 1990s F1 race and the amount of top driving the guys have done, keeping as close to each other as possible and doing it all in the pits. So Polly Dog, he doesn't want to get stacked in the pits. He does not want to wait for his teammate to have his tyres changed ahead of him. Polly Dog would simply lose far too much time. Heading into Parabolica, Polly Dog took a sly look there on the inside and a bit of suicidal move. But now he's going on the inside. Bobbly Swagger's made a big mistake here. And Polly Dog, is he going to sneak on the inside into the pits here? No, they're side by side. Polly Dog gets the move done on the outside of Parabolica, but that allows Bobbly Swagger to get into the slipstream down towards turn 1 as Vickers F1 and the McLaren MP4-12C. Is one of the back markers might get in the way here. Bobbly Swagger fancies forcing his way past, but Polly Dog hangs on for now. Bobbly Swagger in the Audi R8 LMS will be looking to attack his teammate, trying to get back into the lead position. Polly Dog, meanwhile, has got to use his opportunity. He's been closing the gap. He's been putting the pace down there. He needs to build that position. But Bobbly Swagger, now he's got the slipstream. The hunter has become the hunted. And it's interesting to see how Bobbly Swagger can attack. Can Polly Dog resist in the same way that Killer Ramsey did for pretty much half of this race? Going into Curva Grande, you can see that Bobbly Swagger's really on the rugged edge here as he gets close to the back of his teammate Polly Dog into Lesbo 2. And Polly Dog is really hanging on here, trying to use this slipstream from Vickers VF1 in the McLaren MP4-12C, who's going to be a lap down at the end of this. Bobbly Swagger now, he's trying to use the same overflow, kind of like a double slipstream with the clean air that McLaren's throwing up, going over the top of his Audi as well into Ascari. And a bit of a sideways action from Bobbly Swagger there at the start of Ascari 1 into Ascari 2. 3 though, look at the pace difference. He seems so much more confident on the power there, Bobbly Swagger. He was really able to mash that through on the accelerator down towards Parabolica, and Bobbly Swagger might fancy a bit of a switchback here. Goes to the middle of the circuit. Looks to the inside as Vickers VF1 and the McLaren MP4-12C has got to get out of the way of these guys. If he doesn't, that's going to be a penalty. As Polly Dog looks in the back of that McLaren, telling him to just get out of the way. As Bobbly Swagger tries to follow him through there, Polly Dog used the extra slipstream to affect the pass and keep ahead. Now Bobbly Swagger, wily old fox, trying to use the McLaren as an extra slipstream down towards the chicane at the end of the pit straight. Just not close enough to attack Polly Dog though. Oh, a bit of gravel kicked up at the end of the second part of the chicane there from Bobbly Swagger. He'll have thrown it all over the windshield of Vickers VF1. Sweet revenge for being held up. Going through the Parabolica into Curva Grande. And you can see that Polly Dog has started to drop his teammate by a little bit. Not too much, but a little. Now, I want to very quickly try and break away from these guys to find out what's going on. Killer Ramsey is down in 4th place. Scaggy was going through Curva Grande. Killer Ramsey is way behind him. I don't know what happened to Killer Ramsey. He completely lost pace here. But as a result now, Bobbly Swagger and Polly Dog, they might fancy their chances of victory here because they're making those tyres last. At the moment, going on to the top lap times, you can see that the last lap they did was a 1:46.5 and a 1:46.9. Skanky Puppy was a 45.6, Killer Ramsey a 46.1. So those tyres have yet to warm up on the RUFs. If these guys hang on for maybe 1 or 2 laps longer, they might have the amazing tyre grip at the end of the race, and that might allow them to overhaul the RUFs. Of course, they can't rely on the drivers getting in each other's way. And I wouldn't be surprised if either Bobbly Swagger or Paulie Dog might slip in between those RUS, because there's a bit of a gap between Killer Ramsey and Skanky Puppy, who's currently leading. Heading on towards the end of Parabolica, and you can see that Bobbly Swagger, I think he's kind of resigned himself to be behind his teammate now, because there is a bit of a gap formed. Look at the distance between them. Bobbly Swagger evidently not quite got the pace. So I'm going to quickly go back through the field. Oh, look where Skanky Puppy is. Just at the start of pit straight, I'm going to eat my words. The RUF is way closer than I thought it would be. Bobbly Swagger will be wondering how the hell that's happened, because Skanky Puppy is barely at that distance behind him at all. Meanwhile, Killer Ramsey is just going through the Parabolica. That's a difference of about 20 seconds. Killer Ramsey might just come out ahead of the RUS, so we could see a bit of a scrap for the final podium position. Ace Killer, meanwhile, has got Bagavo bearing down on him quickly in a McLaren MP4-12C. Going through Parabolica, but Bagavo's just not close enough. 94001, meanwhile, have been disappointed me down in 7th, having a bit of a quiet race. System Flint, meanwhile, in the Jetta G55. I've no idea how he actually manages to get that car around the circuits. It's such an animal to drive. But he's currently hanging on for 8th place. As you go Flipper Racing and Gertford Demon in the battle of the BMW Z4s, going through Parabolica. So we'll ride on board here. I get the feeling, though, that Flipper Racing might just be going into the pits here. So it's a bit of a battle joined a bit too late. System Flint looking at the back of 9400. Bagavo's fallen a bit away from Ace Killer 15. Killer Ramsey and Skanky Puppy nowhere near each other. Then you got Bobbly Swagger, quite a distance behind his teammate now. So we are at this position where the field is kind of spread out. There's a little bit of a distance between them. As you go towards Parabolic, you can see that there's a gap there of maybe 2 seconds or so between Paulie Dog and his teammate Bobbly Swagger. But these guys have got to realise they have to go in the pits. They have to pit or else they're going to be disqualified. And they've only got 6 laps remaining. They probably left this pit stop a bit too late. We saw Sebastian Vettel, but 2010 Monza's F1 race, do an entire race pretty much on the soft tyres and change onto the primes on the very final lap. I don't see the advantage of doing that here on this game because the pace differential is just not big enough. These guys are possibly going to find themselves off the podium if they're not careful. Moving back through the field, you've got Bagavo looking at the back of Ace Killer. Bit of a distance between these two guys, not a huge one though. Bagavo's pace has been very, very strong. You can see that 46.5 is Ace Killer's best lap, whereas the 45.6 is Bagavo's. So you fancy Bagavo in that BMW Z4 to be able to start overhauling that McLaren MP4-12C at some point. Audible Wrecked, meanwhile, asking on the stream, are there multiple divisions or is it just GT3? Well, this is actually the first ever season that we've done on the PlayStation 4 in Excite Racing League. So we're starting with GT3. However, plans are afoot. We're possibly going to do our own version of the Bathurst 1000, and there's also potential for a multi-class Le Mans or maybe even an open wheel series. There's plenty of potential opportunities going now, but for the moment, it's GT3 live Saturday evenings, 9:45. Make sure you're here if you want to check out more exciting racing like this weekly. Well, next week we are on a break. The week after that, we will be at the home of British Racing at Silverstone for one of the classic races of the calendar, so make sure you're there for that. Now Bagavo going for the second chicane, losing a bit of grip there on the back of the Ace Killer in the McLaren MP4-12C, heading towards Lesmo 1, and you can see that Bagavo just slowly creeping in, but not really got the pace there. Killer Ramsey coming down to Ascari, but here's an interesting point. Paulie Dog goes in, Bobbly Swagger goes over the start-finish line behind him. The guys have yet to pit. Skanky Puppy is still out there. He's pretty much in net first place at the moment. But there's only 5 laps left. If these guys do not pit soon, we're going to face a farcical scenario where these guys are possibly going to have themselves disqualified. Now, that would be a silly nature, to say the least. Bobbly Swagger or Paulie Dog need to get to the pits. And they need to get there pronto. Moving back through the field, you can see Skanky Puppy just coming up to the back of Vickers VF1 in the McLaren MP4 12C. To give you a bit of a pace differential between them, that's only about 8 seconds. So Skanky Puppy's easily going to have the Audi drivers. Meanwhile, Killer Ramsey just going through the first chicane now, though. So if Bob Lee Swagger or Paulie Dog pit, they might just come out ahead of him. But they've got to do it at some point, because otherwise, what's the point in pitting and putting cold tyres on? It's silly. There's no point doing it. But you can see Bob Lee Swagger's dropped off the pace of his teammate. One of these guys really has to go to the box sooner rather than later. Going back through the field, Killer Ramsey quite a distance behind his teammate. You've got Ace Killer still ahead of Begalo by about 2 or 3 seconds. So we are unfortunately at that lull point where the drivers have got the gaps between each other to hang on. Knight 4001 meanwhile has got System Flint behind him. These guys are a little close together, so it's possible there might be some action between them at some point as well. Well, Sasna BFC has made a point saying perhaps they pitted on lap 2 and left it too late. The answer to that is definitely no. Both drivers were right at the front of the snake. There's no way they gained 30 seconds in one lap. It's just not possible. Killer Ramsey has Skanky Bobby, Bobby Swagger and Paulie Dog have still not gone into the pits. There's 4 laps to go. If these drivers have not gone into the pits, then that's it. Their race is going to be over. They're going to be disqualified in one of the most bizarre and farcical results I've seen in years. Come on, guys, get into the box. I don't want to be holding out the black flag on a race that's been this exciting. What an anticlimax that'd be. Begalo trying to go through Parabolica, trying to get as much pace as he can from the back of that BMW Z4 as he attacks the back of McLaren MP4-12C being piloted by Ace Killer, heading out towards the start-finish straight and the start of one of the few laps remaining here. And these guys have all been really, really racy, to say the least. Meanwhile, Audible Arcade Text is saying that finishing the race on cold tyres is a no-no. I absolutely agree with you. Why would you want to feel like you're driving on ice at any point in the race? You want to get the tyres as warm as possible, get nice and fat and sticky, and be able to race the absolute rims off them. Who knows? They might be going for the box this lap. They've got a box at some point. They know full well the rules. You have to go into the pits. Now, Begalo slowly crept up on the back of the McLaren MP4-12C of Ace Killer. Ace Killer's responded on his ultimate pace, though, 146.0. Looking at the lap times, though, you can see that the best lap for Paulie Dog are 45.6. He's still in the 45s, despite being on such old tyres. So it's amazing that he's been able to make them last, but they're going to have to give up the ghost at some point. And indeed, Bob Lee Swagger is in the pits. Bob Lee Swagger has blinked first. He's decided he's had enough. So Skanky Puppy is going to go through. No doubts about that. But where's Killer Ramsey going to come out? Let's ride on board here, because this will be one of the key questions. Bob Lee Swagger is already leaving his box. I think Killer Ramsey's had some kind of catastrophic mistake here, because he's not even round Parabolica. I think Bob Lee Swagger and Paulie Dog are going to finish ahead of Killer Ramsey. Despite his amazing driving to hold his teammate behind, he's absolutely nowhere. There's a difference of about 4 seconds between him and Bob Lee Swagger. But Bobby Swagger has gone off on the chicane. He's made a catastrophic mistake on cold tyres. It seems that Audible Arcade Text is absolutely right. You don't want to be on cold tyres. And in time, Killer Ramsey responds by kicking up the dust. I think Killer Ramsey senses blood in the water here and wants to get himself on the podium by hook or by crook. But looking at the distance between them, you can see Killer Ramsey has just come off Curva Grande, whereas moving further forward, Bob Lee Swagger has just gone through the chicane. There's not much between them. This is really quite close. Skanky Bobby, meanwhile, is quite a distance behind Paulie Dog. Paulie Dog has just cleared a Scary, while Skanky just gone underneath the banking. This is going to be tight as Bob Lee Swagger goes wide at Lesmo 2. That might allow Killer Ramsey to start closing the gap. This is really close. So Bob Lee Swagger goes into a Scary chicane behind him. Killer Ramsey, good few seconds back. Literally the length of a Ascari between them, but with the pace that Killer Ramsay's been displaying so far in this race, it would be a bit of a foolish thing to the least to think that he's out of this race. Moving further forward, Skarky Puppy, Paulie Dog has just gone through, coming out of the pits now, so Skarky Puppy's definitely going to get the lead back. But Bobley Swagger, let's ride on board, hasn't he been able to undercut his teammate? He goes all as wide as he can, uses as much of the track as possible, but Paulie Dog is coming out of the pit lane now, coming into the slipstream, and that is easily done. So Paulie Dog and Bobley Swagger have split the RUS. But Killer Ramsay is not far behind. He is not out of this yet. He may yet get on the podium. There's 2 laps remaining here at Autodromo Nazionale in Monza, Italy. Thank you all very much for watching. The next time you'll see any action like this will be in 2 weeks' time from PlayStation 4 anyway. The GT3 race will be back at Silverstone the first weekend in May. So make sure you're here to check that out. That'll be Saturday evening at 9:45 GMT. Tomorrow night, don't forget to watch Samster and the guys in the pre-season GP3. That's going to be on the X-Lite Racing League YouTube channel, streamed live there. Paulie Dog, meanwhile, too far behind Skanky Puppy. Skanky Puppy, he had to drive the doors of his car to try and get past his teammate. In the end, whatever happened, I do not know, but Killer Ramsay catastrophically lost out in the pit stop phase. However, looking at the distance between him and Bobley Swagger, there's not much left. However, Bobley Swagger looks at the back of the McLaren MP4-12C of Vickers. He's going to pass him before Ascari. Now, that favours him quite easily because he's not going to get held up through such a high downforce scenario. Whereas at the same time behind him, though, Killer Ramsay has got a clear. Oh, Killer Ramsay, big mistake! He's dropped it in the middle of Ascari and gone into the wall. And that is very much his podium charge over. I get a feeling that's pretty much summed up the rest of the race. And Killer Ramsay will be absolutely furious. He gets into the lead and resists his teammate absolutely resolutely and then drops it in the silliest of fashions to finish off the podium. Skanky Puppy on the final lap, really doing what he can to stamp his authority here. He started on pole, ended up losing out somewhere on the circuit, gave us some of the most entertaining chase driving you'll ever see. And now he's pretty much treating this. He's got to keep the car on the island. His teammate went off at Ascari on the previous lap, so never say never. Until the checkered flag falls, you have not been classified. In the words of the great Murray Walker, to finish first, you have to finish, and Skanky Puppy is doing everything he can to make sure he does that. He's got back markers quite far ahead of him. I don't think he fancies getting too close to them in case they make a mistake trying to get out of the way. Meanwhile, behind him, Paulie Dog has got a BMW Z4 in between him, so that's going to act as that extra buffer here, and it looks like Skanky Puppy is going to be able to hang on and take a memorable victory here at Autodromo Nazionale for the X-Lite Racing League PlayStation 4 GT3 division, brought to you live and exclusive on Twitch.tv. Well, Mel Maldovic in the McLaren MP4-12C went off at the end of Ascari, and it was almost as if Skanky Puppy was about to collect him. He'll have had a brown streak in the back of the racing overalls there, viewers, but he's managed to hang on, going through Parabolica for the final time. This should be it. Skanky Puppy waving left and right. He probably can't believe his luck, as his teammate somehow has made the mistakes. He's going to soak up the atmosphere, flashes the headlights and takes a memorable victory at the Autodromo Nazionale. Behind him, meanwhile, look at Paulie Dog all over the back of the BMW Z4 and Flipper Racing to take second. Bobley Swagger will be pleased to have finished third place. Made a couple of mistakes, including that chicane skip, but ultimately third place was his. And Killer Ramsay just ran out of laps and ran out of luck to catch up and finish on the podium. He'll be disappointed to be fourth. Meanwhile, Bagavo off screen has managed to overtake Ace Killer. Disappointed that we didn't catch that. It's a real shame. Meanwhile, unfortunately, the order of the results have kind of gone out of stink here because the back markers have been classified ahead of the guys who finished first. Not how it works. Not how it works at all. Bagavo takes a memorable fifth place for him. Good driving, and Ace Killer did well as well. Oh, meanwhile, one of the slow-running Audis who's on his way back under AI has actually got in the way of Maldovic, and that's put him in the way of Flipper Racing. Flipper Racing might fancy a cheeky last lap take here, taking advantage of the AI. Heading into the second Lesmo corner, look at Flipper Racing all over the back of that McLaren MP4-12. You can see, oh, he's pulled off the circuit. I don't know which of the Audis that was there, but Maldovic, and in the end has actually retired the car to make sure he gets no further involvement. But Flipper Racing is all over the back of Maldovic in the back of the McLaren MP4-12C, heading into Ascari. This is going to be a tight photo finish between these drivers, BMW Z4 versus McLaren MP4-12C. At the end of Ascari, look at Flipper Racing. He pulls out of the slipstream and is now in the pits. Well, that was disappointing. Yeah, Flipper Racing, I don't know what happened there. Glitched into the pit lane, but has actually gone past and taken Maldovic to take that final point. Well, it wouldn't be an Excite Racing League stream without some kind of crazy glitch, would it? Needless to say, a great performance from the BMW Z4 driver to get himself back into the points. Great driving all round as Maldovic finishes 11th. Very, very strange here. Looking at the actual order, it's Football 676. That's what's happened. Football 676 number 1 is the one who's glitched in front. It's not the BMW Flipper Racing. Yes, very nice of you to make it nice and easy here. You guys who make project cars, you know who you are. So Skanky Puppy, memorable victory here. Ploy Dog did very, very well to take second. And Bobley Swaggart will be pleased to be on the podium with his teammate in third. Killer Ramsey, meanwhile, takes great performance in fourth, disappointed with the mistakes he made. But Garbo managed to overhaul Ace Killer to take a great place in fifth. Night 4001, a quiet, boring race for him possibly in seventh. And System Flynn, kudos to him in that animal of a car, the Ginetta G55, managed to get 8th place. So, well, it's been crazy, it's been aggressive, it's been over the top, it's been Excite Racing League. Thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget the GP3 the pre-season test tomorrow night on YouTube, the exclusive channel. But from me, I've been Peter Markroft. This has been Excite Racing League. Thank you all very much for watching, and good night.